Hi, I'm Joseph, co-founder of the Abundant Culture Fund, and today we're getting ready to analyze an investment opportunity that can help you retire faster and with less risk. So if you take a look at my screen, I have an established medical practice for sale. A lot of people don't know that they can use small businesses in order to fund their retirement, but I think it's the best way to actually fund your retirement. Um, and we could talk about more a little bit later as to why that is. But some things that stand out to me about this listing is that they're actually selling $75,000 worth of accounts receivable with this business. If you don't know what accounts receivable is, you could look it up on YouTube for a the best explanation, but kind of just a brief description of what that is basically if let's say you do work for somebody and you invoice people after the work and they have 60-90 days to actually pay the invoice. Let's say you do $1,000 worth of work for somebody and they have 60 to 90 days to pay you back. That's $1,000 worth of accounts receivable. So a lot of businesses, they don't necessarily get the money the same day that they do the work, but it's still money that's owed to them. So it's an asset on their balance sheet until they basically cash it in. And even when they cash it in, it's still technically an asset. It's just a different asset. So they're selling that with the business, and I think that's pretty cool because most businesses actually don't sell the accounts receivable with the company, from my experience anyway. The business has 8 employees, and the person who owns it. They're retiring specifically because I always say they're retiring. Most businesses that sell, they are selling because the owner wants to retire. Because, like I said before, most of these businesses are owned by baby boomers who honestly they don't want to work forever. So this person is retiring. All right, those are the main things that stand out about it. So let's dig into the numbers. They have an asking price of $325,000. They have a gross revenue of $608,000 and a cash flow of $123,000. And they have $150,000 of furniture, fixture, equipment, and they've been around since 1990. So you know they've been through the ringer. There's been multiple economic downturns since that time. So this business has really stood the test of time, which is a great thing to know when you're buying a business. So let's take a look at what it would look like if my fund invested in this business. So, as you can see, there's a crap ton of numbers, and that's because I use this calculator to give me almost all the data that I need in order to make a sound investment decision into a company. However, for your purposes, you only need to focus on the things that are color coded. Please don't try to focus on everything. It's something that is very overwhelming if you don't understand the math behind funds and the different algorithms that I use. So just focus on the things that are color coded, which there are only 3 things that are color coded. To give you an idea of how my fund serves its investors. So a lot of funds like to talk about the total return that they're able to generate, which is fine. I think generating a high total return actually, helps your investors net more money. But I specifically like to talk about what my investors would be getting because that's the most important part. That's the product and service that I offer to the market. So the purchase price for the or the asking price for this business was 325. So that's the amount that would be invested, and they would be getting 100. The fund would be making $123,000 a year, assuming that that cash flow continues, which I'm pretty confident that any business I buy, I can continue generating the cash flow that the previous owner did, just because I've been able to increase the revenues of businesses before, pretty simply in certain occasions. So, yeah, it's $123,000 of cash flow, and off of that, my investors would actually be getting a 28% return on their money. which is great because had, here's my question to you: have you ever got a 28% return in general? If you're like most people, the answer is no. If you're some type of day trader or you fix and flip houses or something like that, you might have gotten that, but you have to really work your butt off in order to get that anywhere else. Whereas with this business, this is what the business is already generating. And this is the return if no leverage is used and if the company doesn't grow at all. So if you add in leverage or if you add on growth, it'll be even higher. So from that specific deal, the actual cash that my investors would be getting would be $91,000, almost $92,000, which it's a pretty small deal, but we do small deals because they have higher growth potential and they usually have better returns per dollar invested. So let's compare this with traditional retirement investments. And when I say traditional retirement investments, I'm talking about your stocks, your bonds, and I'm even talking about multifamily real estate because those are the assets that a lot of people use in order to retire. So I did my research and found that if you don't include growth and if you don't include leverage, if you just account for cash flow, your average return from those assets will not traditionally on average will not go over 6%. So I just put in 6% to round up a little bit. So your cash flow from stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, multifamily will be 6% or less. So let's say if you invested a $500,000 into that, your income would be $30,000. Now let's say you invested that same $500,000 into those types of deals inside of the Abundant Culture Fund, getting 28% on your money, your income would actually be $141,000. That is a $111,000 difference. So you can make $111,000 more per year investing in those types of deals under the Abundant Culture Fund. And that's an increase of 471% on your money. That's an increase of 471%, meaning that you're making 4.7 times more per year with abundant culture than you would with traditional investments. So let's say you had a goal of making $60,000 a year. In traditional retirement assets, you have to invest about $1 million or have $1 million invested in order to generate that income. With Abundant Culture Fund, you would only have to invest $212,000 into your retirement in order to generate that same $60,000 income. So let me ask you this: what's easier to invest, $212,000 or $1 million? So that means that you would have to invest $787,000 more in your traditional retirement than you would for Abundant Culture Fund. I believe that you should get to financial freedom as quick as possible. And honestly, I don't know a quicker way to get there than by basically investing in small businesses and having my company run those small businesses. A lot of people don't know that they can use business acquisitions as a retirement vehicle, but I believe it's the best retirement vehicle, as you can see here, because it generates a lot more income, but also because you don't have to deal with the volatility of the market and we have control over the business, which actually can make it safer than those other assets. So that concludes our analysis of this investment. We have a much more in-depth analysis, but this was just to give you a taste of what is possible with small businesses. If you're somebody who's interested in doubling your retirement income in less time with less investment, less risk, and less fees, feel free to reach out to us at abundantculturefund.com. And if you're a small business owner who is looking to sell your company because you want to focus on the next phase in your life, also feel free to reach out to us at abundantculturefund.com. Thank you and have a great day.